Never in the history of humankind have people, especially in Western culture, been as equal as they are today, and never has the talk about equality been at such a proverbial fever pitch. Some people want to be more than equal, and that is in keeping with lower human nature, because more than equal is the very definition of power. Western culture has never been so free as it has been for the last 300 years, that people in the culture have totally forgotten what it means to be oppressed. The hundreds of millions of human lives lost under various political and economic systems other than the democratic and capitalistic types are so difficult to fathom and so hard on students' feelings that we now forget to mention them in the study of history, intentionally. In the postmodern worldview, equality is not a quality of universal meaning, but rather rooted deep in the malignant narcissism and subjective emotionalism as the arbiter of truth. Equality is what I say it is. Today, to be unequal and even oppressed is defined in the postmodern worldview as being nothing more than non-white, or being a woman, or anything LGBT. The meaning is so completely lost that discussions about it within the context of the postmodern worldview are also almost meaningless. This is what equality looks like in the postmodern worldview. Confusing, isn't it? We don't know who's coming or who's going. It's typical postmodern worldview counter-rationality and relativism. But there are actual definitions of equality. The dictionary, for example, defines equality as the state of being equal, correspondence in quantity, degree, value, rank, or ability. In the Bible it says, "Then God said, let us make human beings in our image, after our likeness." Genesis 1:26. Being created in the image of God, imago Dei, every single human being is created equally. The very foundation of our country, the Declaration of Independence, stated, "All men are created equal," though it took 74 years for a president to proclaim it so, and 175 years for that to reach full codification in the Civil Rights Act of 1965. Let's reconsider the actual definition. Correspondence of quantity, degree, value, rank, or ability. We know, despite our equal creation as imago Dei, and in the eyes of the law we are equal persons, though sometimes the law does not work as well as it should. But we also know that none of us has the same ability at anything. The same is true for the other aspects of equality. From the moment of our equal birth, our true equality, according to the definition, ceases. One is destined for a great inheritance, one is not. One has a great aptitude for science and math, another does not. One will create a great product and become wealthy at their own hands, and another will not. Equity is another one of those E words that gets battered about almost like slang. The dictionary defines it as the quality of being fair or impartial. Fairness, impartiality. It's difficult to imagine a more subjective word for such an objective intent. Impartiality suggests equal treatment for all unique persons, but how does this play out in the real world? Activists say that black men are treated the most unfair of all people, followed by black women. They point to statistics to back up their claims. The vast number of arrests for violent crimes are blacks, and we only see news stories about police officers shooting black men. The facts are this: 76.9% of the U.S. population identifies as white only, while only 13.3% identify as black only, according to the 2016 U.S. Census. The number of people in U.S. prisons as of 2017 are whites, 68.9%, and 28% blacks. If this were overwhelming, we would expect to see a greater percentage of blacks serving in prison than whites, despite the greater percentage of whites in the population. To activists, these numbers demonstrate lack of fairness in the system. We need to determine whether any of these inmates are indeed innocent in order that justice may be properly served. To survey the literature on problems with social inequity, we find one definition from the Alameda County Public Health Department. Social inequities are defined as disparities in power and wealth, often accompanied by discrimination, social exclusion, poverty and low wages, lack of affordable housing, exposure to hazards, and community social decay. We looked at the actual definition earlier and find this merely an example of postmodern worldview word brewing and lexical fabrication. And what it really means is inequality, except that the word equity is hijacked for political purposes to mean something it doesn't. Further surveys of the literature only reveals the word inequity associated with healthcare. According to the World Health Organization, health inequities are systematic differences in the health status of different population groups. These inequities have significant social and economic costs both to individuals and societies. Thus, the word equity is completely misused and not competent for rational discussion. Egalitarianism is defined as asserting, resulting from, or characterized by belief in the equality of all people, especially in political, economic, or social life. There exists another, more insidious definition that lies at the psychological heart of the postmodern worldview, advocating the removal of economic equalities among people, economic egalitarianism, or the decentralization of power. Of course, removing is assuredly socialist and neo-Marxist. Instead of working within the current capitalist-based system with its tremendous prosperity and potential, utter change is demanded. This makes egalitarianism a direct threat to American constitutionalism. Now, let's address the issues involved. Equality. We are born equal, and then immediately the reality of difference sets in. We can remain equal before the law, and society should in fact base its economic system at the service of human beings. And we cannot deny the importance of work in this calculus. Some people work hard at all things, advance their education, become innovative, and create things taking advantage of their opportunities. And this is what society should offer, as much equal access to opportunities as possible, so any person can work to their own advantage and the advantage of society as a whole. We should never, ever expect or work toward an equality of outcomes. It's postmodern worldview counter-rationality, born of a perverted sense of equality, socialistic and, of course, neo-Marxist. Our approach to all of these things should always rest in the social teachings of the Church, for they are the only ones not tainted by political ideologies. The Church teaches that all people are created imago Dei, and that each person's particular human dignity stems from that truth. Stack this view against the violence of socialism and neo-Marxism. An economic system steeped in human dignity, in which fair and equal opportunity meets the responsibility and desire to work to advance from any state in life through obstacles to individual prosperity and lasting happiness is a system that embraces true justice. All societies were built by work, and ours is no different. It is when people stop working and demand payout from the labor of others that societies collapse into ruin. And of course, we should always be able to provide, as a whole people, for the physical or mental infirm and any other unable to work.